The cool thing about this is that you don't have to have anything too precise. We're not modeling an actual vehicle, so we have a lot more freedom. And the biggest thing with this is kind of working from a certain point. So this may sound weird, but I want you to start with your tires first, build your tires, and then start with the rest of the car. Okay, because that way if the tires are built, then you have a good way to kind of shape them. There's a bunch of different ways to do this. You can watch videos on YouTube all day long about different ways people will model vehicles. I'm going to start off building my tire from a cylinder. And you want to keep everything light. Even though I say this like a billion times, people still don't do it. So keep all your stuff like super low density, okay? That means not a lot of divisions. If you put too many divisions in it, it's very difficult to work with. So I'm going to go with this big like monster truck. Come on, monster truck. Tires. Okay, so something kind of like that is what I'm going to try to build here. As beginners, you should always have some sort of reference so you know like what things are supposed to look like, and you can kind of break it down beforehand. So with this type of model, I'm seeing number one, a repetitive pattern. So all these treads are very repetitive. So I don't need to model every single tread. I could, or I could model one tread and then duplicate it all the way around. Okay, so I'll show you both ways because they give you different opportunities in each case. Okay, so my first thing I'm doing is just kind of setting this up. In this case, there's a line that kind of goes down the center here, so I put a line that went down the center. Each one of these little areas is something that I would need to duplicate and offset. Okay, so if I leave my divisions this big, that's how big my tread is going to be. Now because we have so many of these things going around, there might be like 30 of them, I need to have enough divisions to count for those. Okay, so as I add divisions, I'm adding what I need inside here. So if I add 30 divisions, that should give me 30 of these types of things. So that should be good. So now what I'm going to do is just delete all the stuff that is not needed. So everything except for one of those little wedges, I'm going to keep or delete. Okay, so there's one wedge. Now the idea is that once I'm done, I duplicate that wedge and I just offset it all the way around, and then I'll have all the wedges that I need. So I'm going to go to this piece here, and I'm just going to shape what I want that tire tread to look like. So I'm going to do a little extrusion. I'll take my offset to like 0.25. I'll extrude it again. Oops. Pull it up. I'm going to delete this face. Delete that face. And then just pull these so that they're lined up with the center. Okay. So let's pretend that that's my tire tread right there. I'm going to go to duplicate now. And when I put my divisions in, I put 30. I did not put 29, I did not put 31. If I went with one of those weird numbers, that's very difficult for me to duplicate all the way around perfectly and easily. It's possible, it's just not as easy. So just so you can see the math behind how I'm going to do the next step, I have two calculators open. I have 360 degrees in a circle, and each one of my items is, I need 30 of them basically, so I'm going to divide that by 30. And so each one I'm going to rotate 12 degrees. Okay, so basically each wedge is like 12 degrees. Now if it doesn't check out, I'll adjust it. Okay, in this case it didn't check out. Why didn't it check out? Oh, I rotated the wrong way. That doesn't help. There we go. So I rotate that 12 degrees and you'll see that it lines up perfect right there. Okay, so now I can do that again. Alright, now I could duplicate this all the way around, 12 degrees, 12 degrees, 12 degrees, but there are tools for doing that. Inside Cinema, we would use like the cloner, and the cloner would duplicate it all the way around for us. Maya doesn't have a cloner. So we're going to duplicate special. So under Edit, I went to duplicate special, and I'm going to say 12 degrees. And how many copies should I need for this? 30, right? Okay, but I actually need 29 because I already have one. So 29. Now, if I put 30 there, no big deal. I delete the extra one that's overlapping. I just have to know it's overlapping. So now I just duplicate. That was the wrong way. What did I do? I think I clicked the wrong box again. Rotate 12. No, that's right. Why'd you go the wrong way? For some reason, it's going in the X direction. So I'll just set that there. There we go. That works. Okay, so for whatever reason, it wanted me to type it in here, even though it's going in the Y. That might be a fun little new glitch inside Maya. So now I have my wheel right there. And if you remember back to our gear that we created, pretty much what we just created was a gear. Now I did that in a very simple form because I wanted you to see how quickly I could duplicate that item. Okay. Now with that duplicated, here's what I can do. I can go back to this original shape and I can start to tweak what the shape looks like. So I can add a little division right here. I'm going to turn these off. I'm going to grab these ones. Just give it a little nudge that way, and then give these ones a little bit of a nudge that way. Okay. Now I'm staying on top of this plane. I don't want to move outside of that. Once I start taking this and starting to pull these things this way, I've taken that 12-degree wedge and I've made it bigger. So I can't do that. So I have to keep whatever my shape is within that 12 degrees. Okay. So that's pretty good right there. I could even add another division here and maybe scale down parts of this if I need to. That looks fine there. Cool. Alright. So now I just have to go back to my duplicate special settings. Leave this at 12, leave this at 29, duplicate, and there it is. And it duplicated it for all those. Okay, pretty awesome. Now I have to think about the other side of this. So I could, in this case, just to kind of show you what one thing I could do, I could just negative scale these over. So if I just flip that around, you'll see how these things are going to line up, and that would actually work out pretty good. I could do that, or I could model a separate piece for this one and then change how that shape is going to go. So I could take this and deselect these pieces on the edge, and I can move it like that. That way it gives me just a little bit of a different shape on that side. Okay, that's another possibility of things that I could do on this piece. Okay, now when I did negative scale it, I need to make sure that whatever number I have here, that I'm negative scaling it right here, which is the scale Y. This number here is the complete opposite. So it was 1.73 on one side, so the other side will be negative 1.73. So then I could take this one, and I could then duplicate this, and pop it all the way around. Okay, so there's my tire. Now all these pieces are separated. Okay, so they're not actually part of the same object. So I'm going to grab all the pieces, I'm going to say mesh combine, and that puts them all under the same shape. So right now they are part of the same object, but they're still not one object. Okay, if I hit 3, you'll see we get some kind of crisp crinkling happening here. So if I go to edit mesh and then I say merge, right there, that will actually merge them together. So now I can hit 3, and then you'll see we don't have as much crinkling. Okay, now you're going to have a weird transition going from this spot into here, because of how this goes from square, square, square into a triangle. It doesn't like that. So I'm going to grab these faces and just delete those. Then I'm going to grab these edges here, do one at a time, and I'm just going to fill hole. Okay. Now with those two filled, now I can grab those two faces and just do an extrude on it and just scale it down. And I'll do it even again one more time, just a little bit, nothing crazy, just a little bit. Now I got a nice little shape right there. Now what's cool about all this is that if I don't like any of these shapes, it's not a huge deal to go back and undo and redo and tweak and modify stuff. If I don't like how tall this is coming up, because it looks kind of weird how tall it's coming up, I could go back and tweak it. I could also go into these points here and modify them. So I could go into this after the fact and maybe just scale this up, and maybe just scale that up, and that looks a little bit better. I could even take this whole shape and just kind of chunky it up a little bit more. Okay, so there could be my tire right there. Now I need to give this a little bit more shape. So if we look at these tires here, they have obviously this rounding part that's happening here. They also have this wheel well area, or not the wheel well, but the inner part that connects to the car. So I need to add all that stuff in. So here and here, I'm just going to kind of scale this in a little bit more. And that should give me a nice little rounding. I'm going to extrude again and push it in. And then I'm just going to delete it. Okay. Now the reason I deleted it is because this is essentially like the tire part of this, the round part of the tire. The other part will be a metal piece. So when we're texturing things, that will be those two different separations. So I'm going to do this the exact same way. So I'm going to go to a cylinder. I'm going to rotate it. I may want this to be just a little bit chunkier. So I'm just going to grab these edges here and here and just scale these in. There we go. You have to support a big vehicle, so you gotta make sure they're plenty big. Alright. So now looking at something like this one, you can see again we have a pattern, right? You can see that there is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-sided apparatus inside here. This one has it too, it's just a lot more. You can see that little pattern right there. Here's another one. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so depending on what or how I feel, I can go with 25 different things. And if you're trying to create stuff for your demo reel, tires are a cool thing to do because there's so many different patterns and shapes that are basically built off of the same thing. So let's say that I'm going to go with 8 in this case. I don't care that there's an opening on these spots. That doesn't matter. I'm going to add another division in the caps. And then just so you can see what I'm going to do, I'm just going to isolate and then delete that piece. And then I'm going to delete again, just like I did before, everything except for one wedge. Okay, so now there's my wedge of what I want this to look like. Now, unlike the other one, I really only have to worry about a certain couple spots where these are going to connect. So this is going to connect right about here, okay? So if I look at this, you'll see how they all kind of connect right at the center here. And then out here, there's also a way that they're connecting, but I can build that in later. So I'm going to take this and just start to tweak it. So I'm going to go here and just extrude it. When you extrude a flat plane, you get basically a face on top of a face. Okay, that's why I'm getting this like weird flickering. So I need to go to my faces and delete basically the copy on top of it. There we go. Okay, and it may take some kind of practice to hit the right one. You may have to hit undo and then tweak it. Okay, and I'm just trying to keep this kind of simple for the demo, but that's what we're going to do. Alright, so now I have this. I'm going to make a multi-cut and just go straight across here, because this is where they're going to connect to each other, right at this point. And I'm just going to scoot this over here, scoot this over there. I'm going to grab all these faces and just extrude them inward. Alright, now when I hit 3, you'll see that we get this big rounding here. So that could be something that I want. I could want it to go pretty rounded. I could want them to go pretty square. I'm going to go with more of a square, so I'm going to go with my insert edge loop and just insert some loops right here in the corners. And you'll see now when I hit 3 that holds that shape a bit better. What else could I do here? Let's say I insert another edge loop right there. That's kind of neat. And I'm going to go to bridge. Come on. Now I just have an extra little piece inside there. Maybe I'll insert some edge loops here. Alright, that's cool. Alright, so now let's say that this is good. So I'm going to duplicate this again and rotate it. Now with this one, if I go right here, okay, which is about 45, negative 45, that's what my tire would look like. It would just have these holes right in the center of it. So I could just then take this one and rotate it again another negative 45. And then shifty, 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 and then that could be my wheel well. Okay, I'll hit this and hit 3 and just see what it looks like. Okay, so that could be the wheel well that I go with. I could also, let me hit undo, or just delete these extra pieces. I could also skip. So instead of going 45, I could go 90, like that. Okay, and then I could just connect these sides together if I wanted to do something along those lines. Or I could do something like this, where I duplicate it and rotate it 120. There we go. And then do that again. And so now I have 3 of these. So once I have a shape with this specific object, I can really kind of move it around and tweak where I have that thing. So if I want 3, I can put 3 there. If I want 5, I just take 360 and divide that into 5, and that gives me 72. That's right. And now I'll have 5. Okay? So however you want those shapes to be with this type of object, you have more freedom. Here, with the big wheel, we don't have a lot of freedom because of how these treads have to be lined up. Okay? So once I have this, then I'm going to hit 1 on them. And then I could go to Mesh Combine. And then I can start to merge pieces together. So I can grab, actually I'll just go to the Bridge tool. Or the Append tool, that's even better. This one to that one, perfect. This one to that one. And I'm just hitting Y between each one. I'm just clicking on these edges. And then way up here, whoops. If I make a boo-boo, I hit backspace, and then I click the next one. Or I try to click the next one. There it goes. And then I do the same thing here. Click this edge to that edge. Okay, just like everything else, don't get locked into I need to get the design perfect, because you may kind of stumble upon an even better design as you start to play with this. There we go. So now I need to go into each one of these areas here that look paper thin, and I'm just shift double clicking all of these, and I'm going to extrude again and just push it back. And then I can go into my top view and just line up all of these points. All those there, hold J, that'll snap it right into the center. There we go. Okay, so now when I turn this back on, you can see what it looks like. Now, there's obviously an issue here where this isn't perfectly round. So that's where I'll use the edge loops. And I'm just kind of dropping it in here, but in a second I'm going to go through and put it in the exact center. So I click this, type in 0.5. Click this, 0.5. And what that does, it moves that center line, or that edge loop right to the center. So now I can grab all these edge loops and just go to my scale and then just scale it out. Okay, so now I have, it's not pretty in this case, but it looks alright. I could also, if I don't like the way that the center is kind of forming, I can insert an edge loop in here and then add some more, oops, not an edge loop. I can multi-cut in here. And this is just eyeballing a circle. There we go. And to get that to be perfectly circular, I definitely want to go through and tweak this. Oops, I accidentally clicked an extra one, so I'm just going to merge those together. Yep. These two. Alright. I can always grab, if I need a perfect circle, I can grab a cylinder, rotate it, shrink it down, and now I have a nice template to use to kind of line these up. So I just bring this in, bring this in. And the idea is to make them evenly spaced and obviously make it round. There we go. Should be good. Alright. So now I can take this and maybe make it a little bit bigger. I can't go past that point, so I have to be careful I don't do that. And then I can extrude this again, push it in, extrude it again, maybe scale it down some. There we go, a couple extrusions on there. There you go. Looks a little bit better. Okay, I can also grab this whole section in the center, and I can scale that whole section in the center up too. Alright, so we'll pretend that that's good for now. Okay. This needs another side to this, so I'm going to go to my isolate. There we go. I'm going to mirror it, so I go to mesh mirror. I'm going in the negative X direction. Now it merged it right on top of itself, but all I have to do is just move this. And what you'll see is that it's actually like keeping it like the full shape of this, which is pretty awesome. So I can go to probably about like that. That looks pretty good. And now I can go in and just grab these points and put one of these at about the center, and then put these ones at about the other side of the tire. Don't think it'd be the same thing on both sides, but good enough. Okay, so now I have this tire here that I could then delete the history on. I'm going to make a new project so I can save it. Sarcona vehicle. Okay. And what I'm going to do is the back tires for my vehicle are going to be these guys here. Okay. So now that I have my tires built, now I can start to customize what I want my vehicle to look like. So I want this to be symmetrical. The placement doesn't matter too much. I can always adjust it. So I'm just kind of roughly positioning where I want this to be. Okay, so there's my back tires. And here's my front tires. Now because this is my stylized vehicle, I'm going to shrink these guys really, that's like incredibly fast. Why are you going so fast? Yeah, I'm going to group it and then center pivot it and then scale it down. That goes better. Okay. There we go. That's cool. Then I go in my front view, make sure that they're lined up height-wise. I'm going to pull these in some. There we go. That's pretty close. Alright, so now that I have my tires here, place them on the ground and kind of get them centered around my world. I can verify that yes, that's definitely something that I want my car to look like, right? This is all going to depend on the length. How far is your car? You know, obviously that doesn't work too much. All right, that looks cool. Cool. I still haven't saved. What am I doing? Scene. Sarcona. Vehicle. Bless you. Alright, so now I'm going to create a cube. And this is how I'm going to start my vehicle, is by creating a cube and then blocking out the shapes of it. Okay, so I'm not even worried about the divisions so much, like adding stuff in. I'm just grabbing points and just kind of shaping what this car is going to look like. Okay, I'll go to my front view. this front view to be really squished like that. So the front tires I think I'm going to have kind of out like this. And then the back tires I'll have inside of a wheel well. So I'm going to insert an edge loop here. Pull that out like that. Pull this face out like this. Maybe even a little bit further. There we go. Okay, so you see how I'm just roughing it in. I don't even have like the shape of a car. It's just a matter of what I want this generic box to look like. And if I don't like it at this point, there's no point in going forward. There's no point in trying to add a whole bunch of definition, trying to force it if I don't like what's happening here. So far it's good. So I'm just going to start deleting faces underneath. I don't need those. I'm going to insert an edge loop going down the center. So I'll set this to 0.5. Perfect. And then I could delete that stuff. Okay. I'll even delete these tires over here because I don't need to see those. Alright, so now I can start to go in and customize what my vehicle is looking like. So I'm going to go in and I'll start to define this back wheel well. So I add a division so I can pull this up. I'm going to add another division right here, another division here, another division there. And all these divisions are meant for a specific reason, to help me develop that wheel well, to help me pull these things up. Pull this one in, pull this one down. It's here. So you can see how I'm kind of like keeping these lines together. Before they were kind of scrunched up here, now I'm kind of spreading them apart a bit. Eventually I'll hit 3 and you can see whew, that's looking pretty good already. Alright, this is kind of bulged out there, so that needs to come in. Not you. There we go. It has to be somewhere for the driver to see out, so I'll just kind of indicate something here. Okay, and you'll see there's a lot of this where I'm just kind of like placing stuff and then moving it. Alright, so there's where the windshield is going to be, or the seat. I'll probably have this as a open, yeah, I'll have this open like that. Push that in. Probably another division here. That one went down too far. Let me undo that. I don't like how that one went in. There we go. That's better. So I just did a couple extrudes to get that in, and then I deleted the stuff over here. And that way I can grab these and snap that. That's much better now. Okay, and I'm always jumping in to my side view and cleaning up my edges. Okay, yep, that's good there. Okay, these are good here, the spacing there. So I want to make sure that these edges on the bottom are also spaced accordingly. Okay, it just makes the world a little bit happier. That's looking good. I need to fix this point. He's not evenly spaced like the rest of his friends. That's good there. Let's insert another edge loop. I'm pushing these ones down because I really want to emphasize this like bump back here where the wheel well is going to be. That's pretty good. Alright, I'm going to take the wheel well at this point, these. I'm going to extrude them and pull them out. And then I'm going to delete. I guess I'll keep that. So I'm going to delete that maybe, but I'll keep it. Okay. And then I need to kind of come in here and clean up some of this. So this edge here needs to maybe be flattened out like that, maybe. Yeah, it's looking good. Alright, I think I need to shrink this. This seems a little bit too thick or thin. So you'll see how I'm always going back to these points and I'm always moving them. This is too drastic of a movement, so this has to come back. So there's going to be the start of it. I'm going to add some more detail to this, so I'll have some more video on this. But I want this to be kind of where you're starting. You're building that main tire area, then you're building the inner part of the tire, and then you can start to shape your vehicle into what it looks like. And at no point in this have I gone past a point where I could change, or I need to stay with it. Otherwise, you know, it's going to take me too long to tweak anything. This took me, I think, 7 minutes, if I looked at my clock correctly. About 7 minutes for this piece. So if I don't like that, 7 minutes later I can come up with something different. 7 minutes later I can come up with something different. Okay? So just consider that you don't have to stick with the same shape. Just keep tweaking things. The only way you're going to get faster at doing this is by constantly doing it and redoing it and redoing it. And constantly tweaking where these lines are at to make sure everything is nice and neat. Those points there, you can see I'm kind of tweaking them to make sure they're nice and smooth. Alright, so I'm going to save this. When you're done, you'll have a full-blown car. Stylized, obviously, cartoony-like. It'll look much more involved than what this currently does. And then we'll take it into KeyShop for the final rendering. Okay, but we can add some decals and whatever else inside there.